So it's a pleasure to be here, especially because of the quality of the participants who happen to be here. And as I was having a conversation with my friends, the idea is really an opt-in. You guys decided to come, to plan for this day. And so I would imagine the kind of resource that we have in the audience should not just go quiet. So while we plan on this panel with my colleagues, that we'll have 50-50. Half of the session to be on a presentation, and half of the presentation should be a Q&A and very interactive one. So let me call on stage my panelists, Nanjira Sambili, CDT from CA, Lillian Kariuki, and Karimi Ruria. Okay, so I'll introduce the panelists. To the extreme left, we have Lillian Kariuki, who is the Executive Director of Watoto Watch Network. Watoto Watch Network is a child-focused non-profit work on ways to keep our children safe online. And then she's flanked by Karimi Ruria, who is a Senior Manager, Public Policy at Safaricom. Safaricom, if you don't know Safaricom, is Kenya's leading telco, connecting most people online in Kenya. And then right next to me is Nanjira Sambili. I know she will be very happy that this is not. I'm so eager to introduce you, Nanjira. So CDT is Francis CDT is representing the Communication Authority. The Communication Authority is Kenya's ICT sector regulator, and so government. And then we have Nanjira Sambili, who I'm so eager to introduce, because I know she'll be very happy that we don't have a man here. At least we have a well-balanced out panel, and it's a good thing that KickChannel and the organizers have done a good job to at least distribute the panels to represent our diversity, and that's a good thing. So, my name is Karanja from issues of ICT policy and regulation and things as they work for that. Now, this is how it will be. We will first get a brief review or a status update from Nanjira, who has been working on ICT policy regulation. All these things previously at the IHAB as a research lead. So now she has been working on mapping cybersecurity in Kenya. And immediately after that, Francis will intervene to give the government's position. And then after that, I'll do the next introduction.
Thanks, Moses. And it's not the easiest topic to talk about after lunch. And the ITs might be checking in. And I did bring a praise dinner. So just bear with me as I go through what may be terminology heavy, but it's just to give an overview of what we have as a cyber policy landscape in Kenya. I've been doing this work with Julian Minor and Tyrus Kama, who are here in the team, somewhere in the audience. And we've been doing this with the support of Global Partners Digital, who are amongst key international players helping build cyber capacity across the globe. Just to better understand where we stand with cybersecurity, I think we're coming at policy and legislation, at least as a country, from the aspect of cybercrime. And I think the big period on it was, I think, 2013, just after this government came in, and their websites were being defaced one after the other. After coming on as a digital government, there was a wake-up call, if you will, that there's some work that needed to be done. And so since then, what has been happening, or at least what we've found, is with any conversations about cyber policy, cybersecurity, have really been about one, curbing cybercrime, especially as has been faced with banks and M-Pesa fraud situations that we've had. So there's been a lot of talk about how do we deal with cybercrime. Then there's been the other aspect of hate speech mongers and online abuse. What is interesting is that we don't have a overarching definition of what cybersecurity is. And so that is starting to impact how we are devising legislation for cybersecurity. Now, when we were doing this work, we looked at what are the existing definitions of cybersecurity that are accepted internationally. I won't read it out to you, but I'll mention that there's a Freedom Online Coalition, and they have a recommended definition of cybersecurity. What that does is it acknowledges rights. It acknowledges international humanitarian law and international human rights law to apply online as they do exist offline. And then it goes on to give a very interesting definition of what cybersecurity is, which is essentially the preservation through policy, technology, and education of the availability, confidentiality, and integrity of information and its underlying infrastructure so as to enhance the security of persons both online and offline. If you go to the Freedom Online Coalition website, you'll find all that, including recommended interventions for that. So, from the government side, what we found is the key actors obviously would be the Ministry of ICT, the ICT Authority, the CA, the National Intelligence Service, the National Police Service through the CID, that's the Criminal Investigation Department, the Office of the Public Prosecutor. As we know so far, it's been very difficult for them to prosecute cases that have had anything to do with the cyber realm, including hate speech, because digital evidence recovery has been an issue. That prompted them to try and introduce legislation to cybercrime legislation, but it was not their mandate. So we went on a back and forth, and we'll touch on that later. Then you have the central bank, obviously. You have the National Communications Secretariat who help advise the government on policies, and the Kenya Law Reform Commission. So those are just some of the actors who are involved there. Now, interestingly, under the Communications Authority, they have the Computer Incident Response Center. So this is technically where you're supposed to, actually maybe I should ask how many people know about the CERT that exists under the Communications Authority. Actually, let me phrase it this way. Who knows when to go report an issue if they're violated online to the government of Kenya? Please, with confidence, raise your hand. Confidently, please, you beat a lunch so they can see. Okay, that is probably 10% of the room. So the website is, I think, -CIRT.go.ke. As I guess it was not good. Sorry, I was trying to find something I couldn't. So technically, that is where you're supposed to go report any threats, any vulnerability, any issues to do with, like, even children who have been, there's a whole handbook by CA there. All those issues you're supposed to report there. But for the longest time, it's been in existence since, I think, 2013, 2012. But this is very telling if the practitioners themselves don't know about it, that this is where they're supposed to go to. We just go to Twitter. It's where we go. It's where we go to make noise when we are violated now. So that's been our search for the time being. Now, as far as where government engages people, apparently there exists a committee through the SETS that's supposed to engage private sector actors, academia, to list out all the wonderful stakeholders who should be involved in that wonderful buzzword called multi-stakeholderism. Yeah, you have to say still sharp. Actually, again, another question. Who here knows about the committee or is a member of that committee? It's called the National Kenya Search Committee. It's actually TESPOC. You are, Paul. So that's interesting as far as representation goes. And it's interesting because it states out every possible actor who should be a member. But other than, actually the only people that's able to identify who are members were TESPOC. So who's there from academia, who's there from other civil society actors, I don't know, would love to hear that from you. And then non-state actors, many of them are seated here with me. That includes Kipternet, who have convened us here today. All the conversations we had there. Article 19, through the bigger mandate of freedom of expression, have really been doing interesting work in translating the work that goes to the legislation of cybersecurity. You have Watoto Watch Network, and Lillian will talk about that later. You have TESPOC, obviously, and if you don't know about what TESPOC does, they're probably the most inclusive, all-encompassing entity for advancing the industry interests. They started as telecommunication service providers, and now they say they've widened their mandate to cover all of your interests. Then you have Cybersecurity Kenya, who are also looking at child online protection. We have CIPIT, we have Euclid, who have been doing the Africa Hackon Conference. You have Seriana, who put out the kind of cybersecurity reports, vulnerability reports and threat assessments. And you also have Havers and OK. So these are just some of the actors. Now, if you're an actor in the room who's been looking at cybersecurity issues of any level, shape, or form, please reach out to me, because we're trying to make sure we have a good understanding of who's a player outside of the state space. Yeah, that's where we are with actors. Now, this is the fun part, the law. I think one person can summarize the practice of everything else is just one thing. So we have documents upon documents upon documents. There's no shortage of them. Some of you may know about the cybersecurity strategy. Hands up if you do. National Cybersecurity Strategy. National Cybersecurity Master Plan. Oh wow, it's the same hands, eh? This is wonderful. So maybe our whole work here should be about why does cybersecurity matter? And I won't go into that because it's beyond the remit of this, and maybe that should be a whole gathering separate from that. So far, if you had any issue that needs to go through the legal system to address any issues with cybersecurity, the Kenya Information and Communication Act was revised in 2012 to have provisions for cybersecurity. So really just pepperings of clauses to help, if you go to court, there'll be something to be referred to in the law. And that's been what has been operating since 2012. So now we have the Computer and Cybercrime Bill. How many know about it? How many consulted, have engaged in the consultation process? Good stuff. Okay, hands is becoming to basically 4 p.m. And that has been great because what we found is it addresses some key issues that have been coming up in the cybersecurity space for a long time, which is jurisdiction, offenses, forensic procedures, and international cooperation. So I think ideally that is going to be the overarching bill or law when enacted the act that helps legislate the space. And we also have the ICT policy that is all encompassing. What that has done is it has identified key objectives for the government in the addressing cybersecurity. Interestingly, they proposed another agency to be set up. The question then becomes, do we need yet another entity on top of all the other entities that exist in some form or other? That's going to be interesting to discuss later. Then there are other bills that should be in place to help strengthen that space. The data protection bill that we've been waiting for, and as yet no one seems to know where it exists in the parliament. I don't know if anyone has been able to trace it since 2013. So the critical infrastructure bill was posited last year. It was an inter-ministerial entity where that is cybersecurity and assets in the cyberspace are considered critical infrastructure assets, so that's interesting. And I think always the access to information bill that's just about to be assented to is going to be very interesting insofar as the cyberspace goes. So how do we access information there that is public and all that? And I'm sorry I have the boring topic today, I wish I could sexy it up, it's just, there's very little you can do there. So that's where we are. So essentially we have the elements to start to set us off. But one of the things that have been very interesting is that we're coming at, again as I mentioned, cybersecurity as cybercrime and the prevention of cybercrime. The element of the rights that we need to enjoy online are secondary to the fact that everyone just wants to curb this crime. And it's understandable, but especially as we're going towards the elections, we've already seen the language being adopted about, in a sense, policing the online space. There's been a lot of very militant language used by the Ministry of Interior and others about how they'll come after all of you and all that. The conversation about which rights, how we exercise our rights online and how they are protected online needs to be included just as much as the element of curbing the crimes that exist in that space or taken up in that space. Then, yeah. What we also see is, again, Kenya has always been a country that exists very well on paper. Now, with all these different bits and pieces, we are at a very interesting point. It's great that through the ministry we're starting to revise, we've gone to the policy, starting another bill, there have been so many bills amended, so many acts amended. Now, we have the risk of either being over-legislated or very incoherent. And it's going to be up to the ministry and the various state entities to guide us through so that we have an all-encompassing and overarching system. Yeah, so much of cybersecurity work sounds very boring. I'm sorry again, I can't apologize enough. Just, we have to care about it. The spaces for engagement with the government, this multi-stakeholder spaces of engagement aren't clear. Now, if you have an issue that arises, how do you convene, how do you get to talk to CA unless they put out regulations for you to put comments on? Who's on that committee? I'd love to hear that so that we can help map that out more. From the academic space, we'd love to know who are the geeks taking through this stuff, training, teaching through this stuff. And most importantly, after this, we're going to put this up as a mapped out document for you to plug in and comment further, and just to be able to know what the government has been doing on your behalf as citizens of this country. Cheers.
Great, thank you, Nanjira. You can always be sure Nanjira will represent. That's hard. So thank you very much for the breakdown around the infrastructure and the policy and all. So as I hand over the mic to Francis, a question I would want to ask you is, we talk about security here, and we talk about cyber. There is regulation, but as I say, lastly, like, who are the people who are actually securing the information in terms of the geeks, who are the coders? Are we seeing that capacity as a country to have enough computer scientists or people working on this field for our body, like soldiers for us?
Thank you, Nanjira. My name is Francis Itati, as was mentioned earlier. I'll try to respond as best as I could to Nanjira's concerns. I'll start with the National Computer Incident Response Team. So we usually have, every quarter, we have, it's called the National Kenya Computer Incident Response Team Cybersecurity Committee, that is composed of both public and private sector stakeholders. And what we do is that we have this meeting just to share, to interact on the pertinent issues with regard to cybersecurity. And one of the major challenges we've had is that attendance has not been very good, but we always have our meetings regardless. With regard to the membership of this committee, we have the law enforcement agencies, like mentioned, the NIS, the KDF, and others. We also have the banking sector, led by the Kenya Bankers Association. We have TESCOC, obviously, Kenneth, and also other critical public utility companies like KPLC, KPA, and the like. And of course, also the critical infrastructure service provider like CFOM and TEAS. With regard to the position of the government to cybersecurity, we have seen exponential growth in the ICT sector, whereby we have over 37 million mobile subscribers and over 58,000 domain names. This has been occasioned by innovations and investments on ICT opportunities, as well as zeal for entrepreneurs to get into the ICT industry. And also, we've seen an enabling environment being provided with regard to policy, legal and regulatory instruments. Also, we've seen that reliability and affordability of internet has gradually gone down, as well as the provision of faster fiber optic connectivity due to the landing of the undersea cable. Also worth noting is the affordability of the smartphones in Kenya, whereby smartphones are easily affordable now. For as little as 1,000 shillings or 2,000 shillings, you can get a phone that can access the internet. We talked about WhatsApp and Facebook and all that. Also, we've seen a growth in the adoption of online services such as e-government. We have the e-citizen portal, e-commerce, online banking, and e-learning. And also, social media has grown tremendously in the country. platforms such as Facebook and Twitter taking precedence. Cloud computing is also a major area of, that has been embraced private sector. And also the Kansas City project, which is expected also to influence and contribute to the growth of ICT and the economy at large. So with regard to the type of incidents that we have been handling, we've seen an increase in ransomware, malware, brute force attacks, and web application-based attacks, as well as denial of service attacks. But with regard to spam and botnets, we've seen a gradual reduction in these kinds of attacks. So I can report that the government has put in place several measures to enhance national cybersecurity and promoting the e-commerce that is closely related with e-government. We have the National ICT Sector Policy, which is actually currently under review as at June 2016. We have the KICA of 1998 and the regulations, which we actually had a public participation. And also we have, there's a development of a national cybersecurity framework, which comprises of the national cybersecurity strategy, as Julia mentioned, and of course the National Competency and Response Coordination Center. We also have an initiative known as the Child Online Protection, which aims to enhance the security or rather to protect Kenyans who are below 18, because we've seen that the internet has become affordable and easily accessible by children. So the child online protection is a major issue that the authority has kind of like gotten into. In the year 2015, we launched through the capture, we launched the Child Online Protection, which was an initiative that involved 10,000 school heads, because the teachers, as you understand, are also they're involved extensively in the transfer of knowledge. So we deemed it fit to involve the children, the teachers, so that they can reach out to the children in this initiative. So what we're saying is that you cannot really police the children as such, but you need to make the children aware that of the kind of dangers that they can expose themselves to when they're accessing the internet. For example, avoiding posting private information about the parents and about themselves, because they expose themselves to grave dangers and risks.
So thank you very much, Francis. So at least now we have an idea of what's happening in this in this space around cybersecurity in Kenya. Now, those are the plans, laws, ideas, strategies. Now let's move over to that other side where reality comes. These are people who work with children and people who work with children to try to keep them safe. So it would be good to know the experience. So Lillian, you had a video clip you wanted to play. Great.
My name is Lillian Kariuki, and I'm the Executive Director of Watoto Network. First of all, Happy Youth Day to all the young people in the house. And young at heart. I'm looking you out here. So what we do at Watoto Network is we work directly with children, with the police, judiciary, parents, and we educate them on how to ensure their children are safe on the internet. Currently, we've trained over 10,000 young people. Actually, over 20,000 young people, teachers, everyone who works around child online protection. And the question I want to put out there is this. For the people who are parents here, how many of you can say exactly what your children are doing online? How many can say for sure, you know what my son, my daughter is doing on the net? How many? Just a show of hands. I want to see the proactive parents. You can say exactly what your children are doing on the net. Kind of, yeah? I want to talk about seen with Kenyan children and the culture, one of the things that they get into a lot, they've got 2 or more social network pages. How many of you have witnessed that with young people? They use at any time, they have 2 or more social network pages that they are running at the same time, yeah? Secondly, we have something called double presence, and it's very popular among young people, okay? How many parents here are friends with their children on Facebook? Yes. How many of one parent? Yeah? The reason I'm talking about double presence is this. They have 2 pages. They have Facebook here and all other platforms, but they'll have the parents page and they'll have the friends page. It is actually happening, okay? Another culture sort of we've seen with young people is this. They have over 1,000 friends and strangers they're talking to. Are you aware of this? Even you've got 5,000 friends who are, on Facebook and do you know who these people are? Okay? There's a video we have on one of the emerging issues that we've seen amongst young people in Kenya. It's a very short, sort of 1.5-minute video that we engaged the young people to write the script. They produced it, acted it out. Online grooming, we've seen, that is online grooming. How many of you have heard about online grooming before? Let me not just, have you heard of that word before? 3 people? Yeah. So, online grooming is basically this. We are seeing older people chatting with younger people on the net, okay? And it's not, you cannot say it's older people sort of even looking for the young girls. We've seen it go both ways. If you're in Kenya, you know issues in regards to sponsors. It's Even young people, young girls and young as 13 years of age, they are looking for sponsors, chatting with older men, yeah? And without being aware of what repercussions can come. But this is one of the main things that we are seeing young people doing, especially the teenagers. We also have something in regards to sexting. How many of you have heard of sexting? How many of you are sexting? Yeah, I'm asking this because of this. We were conducting a training at one of the schools, and it became very clear to us. A 16-year-old boy asked us, what if it's a married couple? Is there anything wrong to sex if you're a married couple? So you guys are actually doing it, and your kids are watching, and you're giving them the phones, and they're seeing photos of their moms, nude, yeah? So that is one thing that has come up, sexting. They're equally doing it, but you're also hostile to what they're doing. So you need to be careful also in regards to that. Another issue that we are seeing in regards to child online protection is exposure. You're exposing kids as young as 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to porn. Yeah? You come home, you go home, you are tired, the child cries for the phone, you pass it to them. You are in some very interesting groups. I do not want to say it's only men who get into those groups, and you share a lot of videos, and then you expose, this child knows how to clearly, knows how to go to what? The gallery, yeah? They can see the videos, true? Yes? Yes. So even you as a parent, you are to blame, true? Those are issues that I'm trying to highlight. You need to be very careful also with your phone. Another issue we've seen is internet addiction. Not even among the young people only, even the adults. And this came out very clearly during one of our trainings, where we were training a group of between 4-year-olds to 6-year-olds, and we gave them something called art therapy to draw what how their family uses the internet, how their family uses technology. And this girl, 5-year-old girl, drew the father on one side, using his phone, and the other side was the mom and the children interacting. So if these kids, they're watching, that's a 5-year-old girl. They can see what their fathers are doing on the phones, what their mothers are doing on the phones. When they get to that age where they have a phone, as a parent, will you be able to tell them not to be on the phone throughout? They've learned it from you, they are learning it from you. So you also need to be careful in regards to that. Then this is just something I want to urge the industry. We've heard about the policies that you're making, cyber, computer and cyber bill and all that. When did you ever engage the children? Because let's put it out like this. If you take out the children who are using the net right now, you will feel the effect. But are you involving them in regards to making policies? Because there are ones who on the net who are also doing the cyberbullying. Yeah, true? I also want to play one more video. We are working to create training materials for children in regards to different ages. And I'm happy to showcase one of the videos that we've done with Facebook. And it's in Swahili, so it will reach out to kids who understand Swahili, English, both, yeah? So it's also a short one. Video.
Kila siku watu huja kwenye Facebook ili kusambaza hadithi zao, kuangalia ulimwengu kupitia macho ya wengine na kuungana na marafiki na familia. Usalama wako ni jukumu letu muhimu zaidi. Tumeunda viwango vya jumuiya vinavyolenga kupata usawa sahihi kati ya kuwapa watu mahali pa kujieleza na kukuza jumuiya ya kukaribisha na salama kwa kila mtu. Viwango hivi vinakusaidia kuelewa kilicho sawa kusambaza kwenye Facebook. Iwapo utaona jambo unalifikiria linakiuka viungo hivi, tunakurahisishia kuripoti kwetu. Tuna timu za watu wanaofanya kazi saa 24 kwa siku, siku 7 kwa wiki kote ulimwenguni, wanaohakiki ripoti hizi ili kuhakikisha Facebook inasalia salama. Pia tunakutolea zana za kudhibiti uzoefu wako kwenye Facebook, kuipa jumuiya yetu zana zinazohitajika kudhibiti wanachosambaza, wanachoona na watu wanaowasiliana nao. Ni njia nyingine tunasaidia jumuiya yetu kuwa salama. Kila wakati unasambaza maudhui, unadhibiti unayoweza kuyaona. Unaweza hata kuunda hadhira maalum na kutumia kumbukumbu yetu ya shughuli. Unaweza kurudi nyuma wakati wowote na ubadilishe hadhira kwa chochote ulichoshiriki. Pia unaweza kuzuia mtu yeyote usiyetaka kutangamana naye tena na hata arifiwa kuhusu uamuzi huu. Kila wakati tunatoa ufikiaji kwenye msaada na rasilimali unazoweza kuhitaji ili kuhakikisha usalama wako wa mtandaoni, na tutatoa programu na miongozo mingi ili kusaidia jumuiya kutumia Facebook salama na kwa uwajibikaji. Tunahimiza kutembelea kituo cha usalama cha Facebook ili kujua zaidi. facebook.com/safety. Usambazaji salama na wenye furaha.
Thank you. I want to highlight one more thing. I don't know how many of you have heard of an event called Safer Internet Day, which is a global event that is celebrated every year. How many of you have heard of it? Yeah, the Kenyan organizers, we've organized it for the past 3 years, and we've had a lot of people coming on board, government, all stakeholders are coming on board. If you're interested, it's next year, February. We'll call upon you guys to come on board if you're interested. Anyone? Thank you.
So thank you, Lillian. Karimi, over to you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Karimi Ruria from Safaricom. So regarding child online protection, for us we prefer to refer to it as child online safety. And this is because it has more than just protection aspect to it. The internet is a transformational tool, and it has transformed our lives, and in the same manner it has transformed the lives of children, and it's a very good empowerment tool for children. So we should just think about protecting them online, we should think about keeping them safe online. So with regard to the topic, I can just start by saying that, you know, Safaricom is about transforming lives, and that's what we are about. That is in fact our vision, to transform the lives of Kenyans. And a huge part of the population that we wish to impact is our children. So it's on this basis that we support the Child Online Safety Initiative. So if we talk about mobile, how do we access the internet? So a large majority of Kenyans access the internet using their mobile phones. If I was to make reference to statistics, for example, I had actually called up the CA website. They have a statistical report, one that was issued as of March 2016, and it shows that the mobile subscriptions, in terms of internet access, sorry, if you just bear with me for a second, I had actually got the table in front of me. Yes, okay. Basically, there's about 29 million internet subscriptions in Kenya, and out of that, more than 95% are actually via mobile phone, to be followed closely by optic fiber, which is 122,000. So if you think about that kind of statistics, it is pretty obvious that majority of people are accessing their phones, accessing the internet using their mobile phones. Then it inevitably follows that majority of children are accessing the internet using mobile phones. So we must also behave responsibly as the industry with respect to keeping our children safe online. So if I was to go back to the initiatives that are currently taking place as an industry, I'd make reference to the Communications Authority, which Francis has already touched on. So closer to some industry initiatives since the last IGF, in December this year, last year, sorry, the CA held a workshop, a forum on child online protection. It brought together many government, should I say, agencies, the Department of Children, the State Law Office, the Cybersecurity Unit. It brought together international organizations such as UNICEF. It brought together industry players. It also brought together civil society, and we started a conversation about keeping children safe online. So arising from that conversation, we are hopeful that we'll move forward as a country. There's a plan to have a child online protection strategy developed in Kenya, and this will be championed by the authority. And the Communications Authority has put together a multi-stakeholder committee which meets from time to time to discuss child online protection and child online safety. So in terms of other initiatives that we can take part in, if we're talking about, for example, industry, if we're to talk about Safaricom, for example, there are two initiatives that we have taken part in, or we can take part in terms of ensuring children are safe online. So for starters, we have developed an app called the Guardian app, which people are able to interact, as in you can be able to install it in the phone of a minor, and you're able to then monitor or otherwise control what they have access to. You can block sites, you can block specific sites, or you can whitelist what you want them to have access to. Another aspect that we are involved in is in terms of network blocking, and we do not mean blocking across the board. What we mean is there's some content that is outrightly illegal, and outrightly illegal content in Kenya is content that has to do with exploitation, sexual exploitation of children. So any such content, if red flagged, is actually immediately blocked from our network, so that nobody, not just children, nobody in Kenya should have access to it from our network. The only problem with such initiatives is that we are carrying them out single-handedly. So what we recognize when it comes to the space of child online safety is it needs to be a multi-stakeholder kind of like approach. Everyone needs to be on board with you. So what good is it if you don't have access to it from one network, but you have access to it from, say, another ISP? So it is very important that when we are discussing this, everyone is on board, everyone owns it, because there's a role to play. Everyone has a role to play. So it is important that everyone actually takes a leading role and actually owns this initiative. And that's why we will look, as we continue championing on our end from an industry front, we'll also look to have something developed at a national level, because this is the only way that we can be able to ensure children stay safe online. A very important point to note is regarding safety online. It cannot be overemphasized that really the primary role will always remain with the parents and the caregivers. So parents, guardians, caregivers, etc. So what will be our role as industry in ensuring that these people are empowered? And I think there will be an aspect of awareness, for example, and just generally ensuring that they are empowered so that they know what it is that they need to do. As Lillian asked many questions, you notice not very many hands were up, and she mentioned some very pertinent questions involving our children and how they interact with the online space. So that's generally, and I think Lillian can bear witness, the reaction of most parents across the board. So your child has online presence, you have no idea what they do, you have no idea who they are chatting with, they have access to strangers. Not every stranger is their friend, not every stranger wants to, has the best intentions for them. So it is important that parents actually get into the discussion and come front and center and are involved in ensuring that the children stay safe online. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Karimi. I think the discussions are quite enlightening around the issues, especially that being practical application of cybersecurity, cybercrime, and all that is within it. Already here, people talk about the regulations and the law system. So now I want to throw it to the audience, because I know you have really good stuff around these things. Any question that you feel like you want to pass across or to post to any one of the panelists, that would be great. Since we have, say, 20 minutes to time, so I think we can take two chunks. First group, then after those questions, we can have some so that we don't lose count of the original question. So if you have a question, kindly you can just use the mic over there. And then as people line up there, probably anyone here who wants to just jump in.
I do have a question. Maybe Francis can either take that or answer for us. You said attendance of some of the meetings you have for this committee is low. Then I thought, how many people actually know about them? And how do they know elements of planning? And this has been a big issue about how government consults. I mean, we are happy that as stipulated in the Constitution is being adhered to. But the announcements or even the proclamation of who constitutes these committees is very, very important information for practitioners. So if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, obviously there will be no attendance of meetings.
Do you want to reply or should you get a question?
Well, as you know, cybersecurity is an area in Kenya that is still developing, that is still relatively new, I would say. One of the challenges that we had is awareness, but we have been undertaking awareness campaigns about the national SAT. We've been having county forums in different counties in liaison with the county government, and also just within the industry here, we try to reach as many people as possible, because as you realize, cybersecurity is, cybercrime management can only be effectively handled using a multi-stakeholder kind of approach. So with regard to the constitution of this committee, it's not restricted to any, we have the private sector, we have the public sector, and as part of it, we have Kenneth, we have Kenneth, we have the civil society. So really, it's not restricted to, I wouldn't say that it's restricted to any particular person. It really is a multi-stakeholder kind of committee. Yeah. With regard, and of course, we keep reaching out to people to make it more, more complicated.
Okay, thank you. My apologies for keeping you standing. So, kindly proceed.
Good afternoon, the panelists. I'd like us to commend all of you for being thought leaders in this very young process in our country in terms of cybersecurity. My name is Mariana Munyendo from Cybersecurity Kenya. My question is two-pronged. It's towards multi-stakeholder involvement and also the child participatory approach. So now, it's directed towards you, Nanjira. Now that we're starting a mapping process of sorts, I'd like to think that while we are doing mapping, it involves a lot of research. How are we able to look at research companies? Are we having some of them already? And if not, I would like to pose the question as a challenge. Can we involve these research firms to start researching on online usage trends on a wider sector so that we can be able to capture this and use them together with a child participatory approach to be able now to handle this situation from a point of greater understanding. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Moderator. I'm a screenwriter and the aunt of a 4-year-old. I was very interested to read the booklet that you were given because I found it to be quite informative. It's supposed to be for kids, but I think many adults need to read it, and especially university students also need to read it. So my question is, do you have plans to reach out to adults and the younger people? Because these are the ones who are going to be the parents of tomorrow. And like you said, the kids watch what the parents are doing. So if the parents, who most of them didn't grow up with internet, if they don't even know the basics, how can they then teach the children? So that's my question. Do you have plans to reach out to the youth? And then, do you have plans to somehow incorporate this very important subject into the school curriculum? Thank you. Hi, my name is Yvonne Jiro from SCATS Foundation, an initiative that creates awareness around online harassment and violence. And we also provide free digital security trainings in order to create or curb this kind of problem. And for me, it is a suggestion for the Communications Authority of Kenya. So we recently held a conference, and some of the issues that we're speaking about, and also some of the problems and questions that people have been asking us, is the process in which you can report a harassment, an online harassment or violence. And we were talking with the police, and we're also in the process of trying to create, let's say, like a toolkit of advising people on which steps you should take. So for us, we would like to partner with you in spreading out the message on how people can report this kind of online harassment, and yeah, just to create awareness around it and making it easier for people to report this kind of problems. And also to the lady who just left before me, we do free digital security trainings, and for anyone who is interested in this kind of thing, kindly approach me, because we are open to partnerships and we would like to spread and create awareness on this issue to as many people as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is I'm going to speak again. Looking at briefly what you discussed, I'm just looking at my thinking through and asking myself that we have a digital project, and what are the proposals that you're putting in place? Because we're talking about children accessing tablets and laptops, and I think this is quite big, and we need to come out with our subsistence proposals, because we're moving there and the government is moving there now. I think that's one. Another issue that I wanted to point out was that looking at this, I think this is correct. But I'm asking myself, why can't we move now to doing cartoons so that whatever you're trying to put out can now move into audiovisual? For me, I think that makes more sense, so that if it's Saturday morning from around 9 to 10, depending on which kind of media you're partnering with, we're able to put out this kind of information. So I think that's quite good.
Thank you. So I think, before it's also not short, but I think what we will do, we will take these questions, and then because of time, I don't think we will have enough time to do another round. So if you have a question, please, line up there, and then we will keep on answering as we come.
Yeah, my name is Clement, and it is also, mine is in regard to this book, which I came across some times back, and I found it to be very, very appropriate. But one thing exists as a principle, that there is a difference. In our country, we are churning documents upon documents, pamphlets upon pamphlets, name it, research projects, name, but the dissemination. Those who are supposed, the end users, these things never get to them. Now, we sat down one time, we were a small group, and we made a proposal to the Communications Authority on the dissemination, because some of us here have teaching background in teaching, on the dissemination of this. Truth be said, the most effective method of learning for the young is through verbal instruction. Verbal instruction, probably given by teachers in a school situation, or in a church or mosque situation. The rest is just blabbering. Let's take it. The children, the people they are ready to listen to and take whatever they are saying as authority, is the teacher and the religious leaders. So I don't know why that proposal was trashed. I want to know from the Communication Authority if they are aware of that communication. Thank you.
Okay, so please let's try to keep our questions succinct to the point. As you know, not all questions are created equal. Try to make you as fair. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tess from iHub, and so I've actually perused the cybersecurity, what is it, the document. Okay, and it kind of focuses a lot on national security. It focuses on protecting our economy, protecting data, rather than even focusing on the users of the internet. And we're trying to get more and more people onto the internet, rather than discourage people from getting onto the internet. So I want to know how exactly we can bridge that gap, trying to see how these policies or laws can focus on ensuring that people feel freer to be on the internet and that they're being protected. So we've heard a lot about children being protected, but if we look at the number of people who are online at the moment, the greater chunk are not children. And if we look at closely at risk groups like women, like LGBT groups, like bloggers, like politicians, like activists, how exactly are we making sure that they are the ones who are being protected? Because if we look closer, they're the ones who are facing a huger risk and a lot of consequences, especially with this knee-jerk reactions with how we're prosecuting them. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, my name is Edward Kusela from Academia. The other day we saw Apple, and Apple had something to do with private policy. Now for Safaricom, I don't know why Safaricom does not have something concrete on private policy. We need to protect people. Every time CID goes there, you seem to be giving them information. And sometimes information on people who are supposed to be protected. So I think Safaricom needs to have a paradigm shift in thinking so that we can have something like what Apple did, protecting people. Private policy is important. And maybe it can be supported by frameworks, regulatory frameworks, something of that sort.
Thank you for your question. Liz, try to keep it short.
My name is Liz Orembo from Kiptanet, and I'm asking a question on behalf of a remote participant, Kivuva. He's asking, there's a social media bill, where is it, and what are the contents?
Great. So we have 7 questions, and we have 10 minutes to go. So I will ask each of our panelists to take minimum time possible. And just know that we are all working with 10 minutes. It's a social responsibility here to take. So let's go.
It's going to be a rough pattern. So, Miriam's point, I think with research in this space, it's going to be very useful for even civil society actors themselves to just rise to the occasion. So that this kind of mapping exercise, 3 individuals from this space, we are the ones who started it, to just set the base for that. Because even if we brought in an Ipsos, do you want an Ipsos equivalent of the political situation? Question mark. With dissemination, that was a very good point, and I'd like to say with the mapping exercise we're doing, we're going to make it a living document, something that you can actually always refer to and update as and when you have new information. Very likely going to use a platform like ictpolicy.org housed at CIPIT. Just basically to just cap this thing of having all these documents that are hidden in some archive, digital or otherwise. Onto the point Tess brought up about how the framing of these laws are, it actually is a systemic issue, a bigger issue. If you look at how our security laws outside of the cyber realm are, it's really about protecting assets and not really about people. And it speaks to how we entrench the values that we have now articulated in our constitution. The only thing I can say to that is it needs civic agitation. So that the framing of these issues is about the people. We need to come back into the how things are discussed. So it's simply about how as civil society actors, we start agitating for those elements to be brought into the legislative framework. Social media bill, we hope that in its absence, not knowing about what it is, it has died a natural death because it is an exercise in futility. I'll just say stay woke, folks, because there's a rush to legislate in this space. We have an election coming up, and therefore everyone is coming at it as, let us avoid any situation, valid as that is, our rights should not be allowed to be trampled on. And I think what I'm taking away from this is we need to have other gatherings where we assess for ourselves, as practitioners, as stakeholders, what cybersecurity means for us, so that it's not just about assets, but it's also about people. Thank you.
Any other question?
Okay, I think I'll answer the question from George regarding how we intend to reach out to adults and the younger people. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the Child Owner Protection Initiative was launched in 2015, targeting 10,000 heads of schools under the initiative, the Kenya Primary School Health Association. And what we realized is that one of the best ways in which you can reach out to the children is through the teachers, who are themselves also parents. The teachers have been bestowed the responsibility of transferring the knowledge, so this was one of the ways in which we saw that we can reach as many children as possible. Also, other initiatives which we've been undertaking, as I mentioned, is Kikao Kiku, which is a county ICT forums, whereby we go around the counties, having this opportunity to interact with the consumer, to talk about matters that to do with cybersecurity and various other pertinent issues. With regard to the question from Yvonne, we are very receptive of partnerships regarding the reporting process and also the toolkit. And I think we also took part in the SCARS conference that you had over the weekend. So we're definitely open to new ideas and to new partnerships. There's also the question from Clement about dissemination of the books and the verbal instructions. It's one of the things that we are currently undertaking. We realize that for the children, development of content, for example, for comic books and magazines, storytelling programs, and also sponsorship of government festivals is one of the ways in which you can effectively reach out to the children in a very quick and like sort of mass market way. So that's something that is under progress. And also with regard to the question from IHAB, we have the ICT, the cybersecurity regulations, whereby one of the objectives of these regulations is to develop a safe, secure, and effective environment for the consumer, business, and the government. So we have actually taken that into consideration.
On the question in regards to the material, how you can get it, any videos that we've created, these ones were just two of them. You can find them on our website, on our Facebook page, anything we create for young people. Be it for pamphlets, you can download for free or watch for free with your kids. Then in regards to training programs, I talked about running training programs for the police, the children, and all the stakeholders in regards to child online protection. We're also organizing one for the industry, because I even asked questions in regards to online grooming. Do you understand the terms that are used in regards to child online protection? So we will let you know when we've already set up the date and all that, but we'll just send you guys invites to come and learn, and also learn from the young people.
So, Karim, especially a question from Edward.
Okay, first to give a general statement with respect to all the people who have very good suggestions on enhancing the child online safety space. I would add that you actually join the initiative. Like I said, there's a role for everyone, even the civil society. Everyone here present can actually participate in that. And it will go a long way. You know, if you go to the expression that it takes a whole village to raise a child, it's our role, it's everyone's role. Now, to move on to the question by Edward about our privacy policy, for the avoidance of doubt, Safaricom does have a data protection policy, and we do not make disclosure of information. Yes, as a general rule, we do not disclose your information to any person, except with some certain exceptions to law enforcement agencies with respect to criminal investigations or proceedings. This is the law, yeah? So we have rights. Section 31 of the Constitution safeguards your right to privacy, including the privacy of your communications, but these rights are not absolute. They've never been absolute, unfortunately, and one of the recognized limitations is with respect to criminal matters. So just to confirm that that's the reason, or that's the basis upon which we give you information. And to just mention a little further, there was a court case that was instituted last year by the Coalition for the Reform of Democracy Court against the Republic of Kenya, and this was to do with the Securities Amendments Act, and a lot of the sections that touched on privacy were actually upheld by the court. Yeah? And the court weighed out that these sections actually limited your privacy, but felt that the danger that was posed by, let's say, the Prevention of Terrorism Act, the provisions there that had to do against safeguarding against terrorism had to be upheld on the basis that public safety and public security actually trump your right to privacy in that instance.
Okay, so thank you very much, Karimi. I think the only question that probably was not answered was from Rapudo, who was talking about how to incorporate digital training and digital security into the existing or the project that being rolled out by the government on digital laptops and all. So what I would suggest is, gentleman from CA, Francis, is here, and you can always catch up with him. And two, if possible, we can have maybe on Internet mailing list more information about that network and how people can join in. Three, I think it's necessary that people constantly engage in lawmaking, not just when a bill has been proposed. And that's why we have Internet as a mailing list. We have ICT policy, which is a database that allows you to go and scan through what we have. At least the Communication Authority does a really good job around documenting statistics and laws, and that's great. We also have Jadili, which is a platform for public participation, where you can post a bill if you have it. You can even suggest like a child online bill or whatever, and then you post it and people can participate and shape the bill, because we have the technicalities. So, and there we are. Time is up. I think we did a good job. We kept our time. So thank you very much everyone who was here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.